right?
All right.
All right, we should be live on the page now. So Chelsea, go ahead and check to see if we can share it out. I'm going to check on my end to share it to my group.
Refresh this.
Yes, Facebook's loading a little slow. There we go. Okay, I see it. I see it. So we are live. Let me share it out to my group now.
Okay, there we go. Got it.
All right. All right, so for those of you guys watching on Business Not Bullshit, thank you for joining us. We have Chelsea and Ari Cohen back again this week to talk about wholesale. Well, we also have some special guests. It's Dan and Eric from the Wholesale Formula, and they're going to be covering a different aspect of selling on Amazon. Last week we spoke about private label and the benefits of that. Now we're going to jump into something a little bit different, but still stay in the Amazon space. And that's the Wholesale Formula, and Dan and Eric are going to be training us on how that works, what the process is, and they have a cool giveaway for us as well. So I'm just going to drop it from here and let Ari and Chelsea introduce themselves again and then introduce our guests.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Balls, again for having us on. We had a lot of fun last week talking about private label. So Dan and Eric actually come from the other side of selling physical products on Amazon. So in case any of you guys missed last week, just a 30-second or 2-second recap is Chelsea and I have been doing private label on Amazon for the last 3.5 years, almost 4 years now. And basically what that means is we find hot selling products on Amazon, and then we go find manufacturers and suppliers to build our own brand on Amazon. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. We've made, millions of dollars on that. We love it. But we had a chance to meet these guys, or their partners at least, out in Costa Rica last year, a few months ago. And they were telling us about the Wholesale Formula, which is a completely different way, but also an equally awesome opportunity to make millions of dollars on Amazon. So we kind of started chatting with them, and then we set up this call. Chelsea did most of that. But yeah, you guys can go ahead and introduce yourselves. So we've got Dan and Eric. You guys are the creators of the Wholesale Formula, yes?
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome.
I'm Dan. This is Eric. Yeah, hopefully we can just come on here and talk a little bit about wholesale and teach people a little bit about what it is, right? Because it is a little bit different than private label.
Yeah. I think we've been doing it for about the same amount of time you guys have been doing private label. I think we switched to wholesale in about July of 2014, I believe it was, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, and so we've been full in on wholesale ever since, and have been really successful with it. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we so just kind of in terms of our guys who our audience who we talk to, we obviously talk to private label people, but one of the things that this year we're trying to solve is that we've got some people who have been following us who don't have necessarily the capital to invest in a private label business, and so we had really been looking for solutions for these guys who've been following us for a while, who just haven't been able to, sign up for a course like ASM and haven't been able to get, the $8,000 to $10,000 it usually takes to put a private label business together, and maybe want less risk and a faster return. So we wanted to find a solution. So when we talked to him, and he told us more about what you guys do, that became a great solution for that. But additionally, we wanted to solve the problem of a lot of private label guys who the product development phase to get one product out is very lengthy. And so sometimes you have money and you want to be able to churn it faster. So we thought that would be a great opportunity to plug that into our current private label business to create more cash flow and increase the valuation of our company, down the road. So if we try to sell it, I understand that you can get contracts with some of these companies that'll increase your valuation just practically overnight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to let Dan go on a little bit here and tell you a little bit about behind it. But first, I wanted to take this, and I think it's great that you guys are really upfront with your audience, because I think that's a lot of the amount of time and capital it does take for private label. I think you're right, and you guys are clearly experienced in it. And I felt like a lot of times people kind of gloss over the average, getting a product ranked and the lag and ordering the product and receiving the product and all the things it takes to get it up and running. So I think, I think your audience should really appreciate you guys being upfront and genuine with that. But with that said, I'll let Dan explain a little bit about, what it takes to get started, the differences, in time, like you said, how it's a little bit better for wholesale with time, and then the initial money and investment you need to get revenue going. So
For sure. Well, let me explain a little, tell what wholesale actually is for anybody who's not watching or is watching it and doesn't know. Wholesale is it's just working with a supplier of an existing product to become an authorized seller of that product. So everything is a business-to-business transaction. We buy products in relatively large quantity to sell on Amazon at a profit. So it's really simple. I mean, it's a very old form of commerce, but to get started with wholesale, it is definitely cheaper than private label because with private label, a lot of your stuff's coming from overseas, and you have to boat it across, and there's a lot of expense picked up there too. Whereas with wholesale, 99% of our suppliers are all domestic, so we're able to order and generally have our product into Amazon within 7 to 10 days, which is
Wow.
A big difference from the private label folks. And that lends itself to being a very, very good cash flow model. Like, that's what wholesale really is. I mean, wholesale is the ultimate cash flow model because you're able to spend money quickly, you're able to get the product and sell it quickly again because you're selling on established listings. You don't have to take the time to build it up and things like that. Also, and I'm sure you guys have noticed that the Amazon market, it constantly evolves and changes. And one of the things that's become more important is vendors about what they're looking for in sellers. Like, a lot of these companies are looking for awesome Amazon sellers who understand a lot of what private label folks already know. Like, it's pretty funny because when me and Eric talk about it, it's like we always talk about that your best wholesale people are your private label people because they're so good at making things sell. Like, you have to be. I mean, that's like part of your whole model is you bring in also if it
doesn't sell, you don't have a business, right? So that's
right.
Yeah.
So that's why though is like the private label folks are so good at this because these brands need the exact same thing that you guys need. Like they're looking for optimized titles, they're looking for good pictures, they're looking for great listings and
keywords,
PPC and keywords and all that stuff. And nobody, that a lot of people aren't taking the time to invest that into those products. They're not investing into the brands. Whereas like the private label folks, that's what they're used to. So there's a real opportunity in the market for people who want to partner with these brands. And that's what you alluded to earlier with contracts and agreements. So what we do is we work with a variety of manufacturers and we try to target small to mid-size manufacturers with products that sell very well in niches. So to give you like an idea, there was a product called that we sold in the past called it's at Scratch Labs, and it's a drink for bicyclists. Really popular in that space, but most people probably have never heard of it if you're not a bicyclist. But so what we do is we try to get on and we try to work with those folks to optimize their listings and get everything up to speed. And are able to just continue to sell that product. And that's the beauty of the wholesale model is once you establish an account, you're able to realize a profit for a long period of time because you just, it's as simple as placing a reorder. Like I don't have to, boat things across or anything like that. I can just pick up the phone and reorder. And that makes it really easy. And then you'd mentioned, it is less financially cumbersome than the private label model. Typically what we suggest is people have about $2,000 to $3,000 to get started with wholesale. But here's the beauty of that. That's like generally about 6 minimum orders. So it's not, that way we don't ever try to suggest to people like, get one minimum order together and kind of hope for the best. That's not, it's not really what you would want in your own business. If you're starting a business, you don't want to be all in on the first product you see. And with wholesale, it's really flexible. Like you can start working with different brands with that type of budget and find out and develop real partnerships.
Cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, so in contrast with what we're doing, I already can just, if I had known nothing about Amazon, like the key differentiators are, in private label, you've got a pretty long runway to start making money. And I'm not saying it doesn't have to be long, but I mean, you've got to learn how to do Amazon. And for us, we did the Amazing Selling Machine course. So that took about 8 weeks to actually do the training itself. and then, find a product, find a supplier, do all the product research.
And we were relatively fast. Our first sale was 7 weeks into the training. So we were relatively fast, when you think about China and all that. But,
Right.
It can take even longer than that, especially if you get hung up on, which product to launch and all of that.
Right. And I'm not trying to, talk down about private label. Obviously, we do it. We love it. But, it took 7 weeks from the day that we decided to start selling to make our first sale. And then, Dan, like you were saying, it's a lot of work to build. Thank you, by the way, for giving private labelers credit for knowing what they're doing, because it's all bootstrapped. It's like we have to learn how to compete with the big brands when no one has ever heard of us before.
Yeah.
Why would I want to buy your stuff, private label guy, versus the big brands? So what you guys are doing is leveraging the big brands and the names that already have name recognition within that niche. Within that, there's a certain number of people that are probably searching those brand names and those keywords on Amazon. And the brand that's selling that product, this company that you're going to wholesale for, they just don't know how to optimize and tap into that traffic.
Yeah,
and so, cool. Sounds
I mean,
pretty
that's for us. That's the real difference. Is
You don't have to pay for demand where you do with private label. You have to, and it's going to, you have to raise brand awareness, and generally that's easiest or entry level is going to be with advertising, cost per click advertising, and driving traffic to your listing and getting conversions. You don't have to, you don't have to have that out of pocket expense with a brand, because the way that we, target products, like I said, they're all small to mid-size, mostly niche type brands, but they all sell really well. So we already, and there's not really any risk. There's always that risk with private label that it doesn't get the foothold that you want, and now you've got a little either slow or possibly dead inventory that you've invested time and money into, and you can't get it going. That's never going to happen with wholesale. The worst thing that could possibly happen is if somehow the price degrades and you have to sell a loss, a marginal loss, but it's going to be returned. Like we're only buying a 1 month supply, and we already know how many we expect to sell, using different softwares in that month. So it's a really small risk for a larger upside.
And your storage fees then would definitely be lower. That's one of the things that becomes a subject, especially around this time of the year for us. Storage fees are lower because you have an easier turnaround, so you don't have to buy a bunch of stuff that you hope to sell during Christmas during the heaviest fees, months of fees for Amazon sellers, which is
right.
A great aspect. And also you're not having to buy in bulk because you've got the Chinese New Year and you have to,
Which should be coming up for you guys, right?
What's that?
Yeah,
It should be coming up for you, right?
Yeah, in February. Yep. Yeah, so you have to then, figure out, okay, I've just put out all this money for Christmas, and then I have to put out all this other money to leapfrog over the Chinese New Year. So I could see that as being a way to increase your cash flow during those times. Keep your expenses down. Would be really a benefit to people in private label for sure.
And that's a great point. In fact, that is the reason. That coming from a different direction, but that exact point is the reason we're actually in wholesale today. We'd started and been very successful for about 2 years doing what is known as retail arbitrage, going out to department stores and reselling. And then during the summer, it's notoriously slow, particularly when we were focused mainly on toys and games at that time. So we had huge quarter fours. 50% of our revenue would be quarter four. The rest of the years would be a little bit slower. So we're looking at each other in May or June, and we've built our RA capitalization up really well, and we're like, we're not even able to spend all of our money using this business model right now. We're not able to turn our money. So let's try something to leverage the rest of that money. Let's try, ordering from a manufacturer, or supplier, and now the margins obviously aren't going to be as nice looking as retail arbitrage, but with the volume and the steady sales, we had hoped, and as it turned out, it did work out for us, and it started as an experiment. It was a theory of, this is a slow time for us. We've got the capital. Let's see what happens, and then it took off. And then by October, Dan was ready to, cut the cord on RA and go full on wholesale. I said, listen, okay, I get it, and I'm really excited about it too. And starting January 1, we'll be full in on it. But we've kind of built this business over the last 2.5 years to really hit home on quarter four. So let's finish out this quarter four and just continue to supplement with wholesale. And then that's what happened. As soon as we were finished with the Christmas rush in quarter four of 2014, January 2015, it's been a complete, all in on wholesale, and it's, and here we are today, it's still doing really well with the model.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, one of the things I really like about how this could fit in with, people who are in private label is that, you do focus on niche. So someone could, we're in the kitchen space. We could focus on that niche and provide more value to our customers, and also create a little bit of elevation because we are partnering with these bigger brands, and that in the eyes of our customers, shows our company in a much greater light even than before, because we've got these strategic relationships with selling these other products.
For sure, and that's one of the things that really works well with wholesale and private label. Like we're going at it from the different side. Like we started with retail arbitrage, whereas you guys started with private label. But the sourcing methods, the way you guys actually source products for private label, is very, very similar to the way that we source products for wholesale. Yeah. Except here's the difference: is you guys look for your space that where there's space for a product, mm-hmm. and you go contact the manufacturer and have one of those built. What we're looking at is those competitors that you're building your product to compete against, and that's mm-hmm. who we're buying from. So in theory, the same could be true for all private labelers. Like you could be doing both models. Like you could be building your product, but also selling that product in the same time. Like mm-hmm. like you said, you have months to market, whereas you could be to market in 10 days by just making one extra click and contacting that company. Mm-hmm. So it's a very, very the models actually work incredibly well together. And you mentioned it as well with having those bigger brands can actually help your storefront. Like it can make you it can get you traffic as well, which is really good. But one of the things I did want to talk about is how the private label folks can actually leverage wholesale in their business. And it's you start thinking about a launch, like you guys are really good with driving traffic. One of the things you can do with these manufacturers is like you guys a lot of the manufacturers have mailing lists. Like they have mailing lists, and if you're helping them with their products, you can use that as boost of traffic for their products. So it's like taking all of the things that you guys already understand and being able to add something like that in. I think gives it a lot of power, particularly with your guys' crowd. It's just something that you guys inherently understand because you've had to do it before.
Yeah.
Now, what about all those folks? Because the people who are watching this call, a lot of them are digital marketers. They have no Amazon experience, which is why Baldeep invited us to talk about private label last week. Is the wholesale formula something that someone could start having no Amazon experience, or do you recommend that they have private label experience? Like, how does that work?
I mean, I think private label is a benefit for wholesalers because it helps them understand how to make things sell better. But our model is, in my opinion, is the most simplistic model. It's the fastest model to market, and it's the easiest to learn. So I think anybody can do this. Like particularly with digital marketers. Digital marketers, it's like they're also one of the people with the kind of the leg up because they understand list building. And once you understand list building, like you have a proprietary thing that a lot of these other sellers aren't going to have, particularly in that space, because the old model of wholesale is, they just go buy it and then they sell it. They're not trying to invest in partnerships. Whereas our model, we've really focused on the partnership side, and having something like list building capabilities is just unbelievable because it can help you make these products sell much faster, much more quickly. So I absolutely think digital marketer, it's like we're talking to the two crowds that I feel are like the best position for selling on Amazon in general. I honestly don't care what space, how you're procuring product. Like the people that understand marketing and the people that understand product launches and things like that just do better. Like they understand it. They understand and they can take off faster. So, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think anybody could do it.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So when you're saying list building, are you saying that when you partner with these guys, you get access to their list to sell the product on Amazon?
For sure, if they have a list and they would like to launch a product, absolutely. Like that, you can definitely suggest that to them as a possibility. And imagine these companies sometimes have massive lists and can really make products take off pretty quickly. They just don't know how to use them.
Yeah, I mean, just that right there, like, so you guys don't know us very well, but we have a website where we do like some free coaching and we give some tips for private label guys. And that's one of the biggest challenges for launching a product is access to an audience where you can give enough inventory at a discount over a period of time to rank for a particular keyword or phrase. And so we teach how to do that. I can just think right now using that formula that we're already doing, but leveraging a company's list of brand loyal customers, it would be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you could rank. It's the top of page one for almost any product.
And then you mentioned before you get you work with these guys, so you have the ability to edit their listings because most of the time these guys don't know how to build a proper listing.
Right.
So you're able to work with them and actually gain access to the editing of that listing.
For sure. It's actually, I mean, anybody, here's the thing. If you're a seller on any product on Amazon, you can change the listing. Like, unless it's brand registered. A brand register adds like another layer of complexity to it. But even if they've brand registered, they can rebrand register with you, or you can access through them as an agent and change any listing. So, yeah, that part's not a problem. It's actually really easy to do. And I promise you, they will thank you infinitely for it because it's that's what you said. You said it perfectly. These companies didn't know how to make a listing, and in a lot of cases, like the listing may have been created by some guy selling retail arbitrage that had 3 units to sell, and it was the fastest listing that he could get up to sell 3 units. But that's not doing that company any justice. 2 years later, whenever they're now they're trying to move real volume of product through that channel. So. Like having somebody that could come in and update that listing and make it sell, make those products sell even better is just unbelievable. And there's another advantage. Like with you guys have worked obviously a lot with PPC and things like that. Like one of the major advantages that you get two real advantages at Wholesale. Number one is you get brand recognition. Like these brands already have a following, so it's much easier to gain traction when you start down this road. The next thing you get is it's difficult. It's like the products. Whenever you're thinking about advertising your product, like that's an expense to you, right?
Yeah.
We don't look at that as an expense. We approach those companies, and these companies have advertising budgets a lot of the time. So we'll talk to them about ad strategy, what we expect to do. And ask them if they would like us to move forward, and more often than not, they're happy to pay for that for you. So that's changes the game quite a bit whenever you start thinking about not having to cover your own ad cost, right? And being able to drive traffic to your product, because you got to think of it from their perspective. Like Amazon is their window to the world. Like the vast majority of shoppers are coming on Amazon to see their product or see products like them. So it is very, very beneficial for these companies to run those ads. Like they want to because they need new customers. And it obviously works well for us and them.
Yeah, but before I was going to jump in, and for anybody that may not know, PPC is pay-per-click advertising, and it's on the platform. That's what Amazon calls their advertising.
For sure.
Yeah, so just wanted to clear that up if anybody didn't know.
Yeah.
Thank you for cleaning that up.
And I'm going to announce to kind of the audience now, we do have a special way to ask questions because we've shared it kind of all over Facebook. The best way to ask questions is there's a Google form. So on the listing and the post portion of the listing, there's a Google form that'll send you to where you can ask questions. So just click through and ask them there, and then we'll definitely go through as many as we can and get.
I have a question.
My man.
All right. I like to dive in and ask some probing questions, but I'm going to zoom out a little bit on this one. So I understand the whole concept. I understand, how to contact manufacturers. But for the audience, what are some key steps they need to know when reaching out to product manufacturers to start establishing those relationships to sell the product? And part 2, are you starting to see more pushback from these manufacturers or distributors saying, "Hey, we'll have no problem selling you this MOQ, but we don't want you to sell on Amazon"?
Okay, so let me start with the last question first. And the answer is yes. Yes, and that's awesome.
Yeah,
we love
that's good
pushback.
news. It sounds like it's bad news, but that's actually what you want, or what we want for certain.
Right. As I mentioned earlier, most people what they in the past what they've done is they've went and they've tried to set up an account and just buy and sell products. Like that's not our interest at all.
Mhm.
We're trying to go in and set up actual relationships with these companies and become authorized sellers of their product. Like, I don't want to just hawk their goods on Amazon. Like, I want to work with them. I want to help them become better because it makes me more money, and I want to get a contract in place that allows us to sell those products for a very long period of time. So what we're focused on is trying to deliver massive value to help these products and brands grow. But it's really easy to do that because, whenever you're creating your own brand, like, all this stuff falls on you. Like, that's the thing. You get to reap all the reward, but everything you do falls on you. Like pictures and like, you have to have all those done. Whenever we start working with a manufacturer, we're onboarding one today. I was at the warehouse today, and we were onboarding one. So the first thing we asked is, can we see your guys' picture portfolio or your guys' photo portfolio to see what images would match up on Amazon? And we don't have to take those pictures. I mean, all we do is just use theirs. So, but yeah, as far as pushback, yeah, absolutely, and we love the pushback because that means they're discerning in who they want to work with. Like, one of our most famous sayings whenever we talk to manufacturers, and this is something like your audience can immediately put to use, is whenever they're like, we're not really looking to work with more Amazon sellers. We just agree every time. It's like, I wouldn't either. You don't need more Amazon sellers. You just need better ones. And then you just explain how you can help them, because that's what they need. More Amazon sellers doesn't help them at all. They just need people that have the skills to push their products, and the skills to push their products is just there's not a lot required because you're not having to build this information. You're not having to do that. All you're having to do is take the information from them and plug it into the appropriate place on Amazon. So. Yeah. I got the last part of that question, but what was the first part?
I knew you were going to.
I'll go back to that. No, I like that because now it's becoming more of a consultative sale. When you're reaching out to these manufacturers, you need to establish yourself as the authority, and you can help them do this by these steps, right? So a lot of the people that sell digital marketing services that are watching, they understand that process. So it's a good way to kind of, hey, let's open up another revenue stream. So the first part of the question was, where the hell do I find these manufacturers that I can reach out to? Like, where do I find them?
We find them almost exclusively on Google. So, like, whenever we go to Amazon, we look for three things in our products. We look for, number one, that Amazon doesn't sell it. I don't want to compete with Amazon. Those guys are greedy with buy box. Everybody else shares really fair. Amazon doesn't. We care that the product sells really well, and we care that it's not private label. Now, the reason we don't go after private label products is you guys built them for Amazon. Like, you guys built them to be the retailer. I can't really help you, and I don't want to, I don't want to just hawk goods. That's not what we're trying to do. We try to work with companies and actually help them. So, in the instance with private label folks, we feel like we can't, so we just move on to people we actually can help. So,
and private labels are taught that, don't sell to anyone. If you're going to wholesale to anyone, make sure that's in your contract they can't sell on Amazon. That's kind of what the party line.
Sure.
And that's why there's a conflict for us, because all we're really trying to do is to be in the best Amazon partner that we can be. So, like, that's the channel we want, and that's what, like you said, that's why we just go ahead and cut out products that are private label. It's not going to work out for us, so we skip straight to the leads that we expect to be good for us for a long period of time.
Right. So we find products that fit those three criteria: sell really well, no Amazon, no private label, and we reach out we Google that,
and we
that
find
company's
those,
name.
In case it wasn't clear, we find those on Amazon. Like, we source. Amazon gives you all that data, so we source our products from, I want to know how well it's selling. Amazon will tell me, in a ballpark that, so I've got that. That's where we begin, and then when we find them we're interested in, this is where we, and they meet those criteria, that's when we reach out to the manufacturer.
Right. We don't do trade shows. We're just, trade shows are good for some people. Like, we weren't very good at it, and it wasn't very fun for us. So we do all of our contact. Like, we find the company on Google. We fill out we have a very short, simple email. And here's a tip for people who are emailing manufacturers: like, simpler is better. Like, don't try to be too fancy. Don't try to be too cute. Just ask your question and be as clear and to the point as possible. We've developed a series of templates about that.
Cool.
Just to back you up on that, Dan, like, having our own brand now, and we get contacted by wholesalers or marketers or whatever, and I tell you, if it's more than a paragraph long, I'm just kind of like, yeah, and half the time I won't even answer because you get so many of them. If they just came out and said, hey, I'm an awesome Amazon seller, and I think I can help you grow your business, even if I might actually respond to that. So I'm glad to hear you say that you keep it short and sweet.
For sure. And the
Scripts and templates and that type of thing that you guys use.
Yeah, and we've tested, like, I bet we've split tested hundreds of these emails. Like, it's just, and what we've found over time is it's always better to be simple. Simple, short, sweet, and to the point, because exactly what you said, people go through it, they just, they kind of gloss over it, and the point's lost. You just lose your point with words. And then we Google them and send that off, and if either they'll respond and say you guys are approved, which is good and bad at the same time. Like if they just auto approve people, like what you tend to see is the product will go down over time, and that's, you guys have heard it. You guys have all heard this phrase, race to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Like race to the bottom happens when a product doesn't care, when a brand doesn't care about their product. And they're not discerning who's selling it and things like that. They're not, there's no enforcement of who's representing their brand on Amazon.
And those are people we don't want to work with.
Right.
So that relationship will go by the wayside relatively quickly. Like, I mean, we obviously, like, if we get auto approved, we're not going to just be like, oh, this is going to end up terrible. We understand it may, but we're going to reach out to them and be in communication and see, if we can help them regulate and make a partnership going forward so that we can avoid that. Else, it seems to happen that way more often than not, that it's just going to, an erosion of the product on Amazon to the point of it being not profitable for anybody. The brand looks, much worse light after that, and it's just, just a bad experience for everybody all around. So those are not the kind of companies that we build our, portfolio, so to speak, on.
But I mean, the answer we're actually hoping for is no.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're hoping for, is that they don't want to sell us the products and they don't want to work with us, because that shows that they really do care about their brand. They care about who sells it. And that's when things get exciting, because that's up until then, it's just, that's just wholesale. And Eric said this a whole bunch in the past. It's like, we do wholesale, but like the way we do it's not exactly, we just haven't found a better name for it. So, but that's when our process takes over. And that's what we're good at, is we're very good at talking to people and explaining exactly how we can help them on Amazon.
I've always liked, I'm still in beta with this, but I've always liked partnered acquisition. That's kind of what I'm still kicking around, what I'm going to, coin for
partnerships.
That's a good one too. I love that one.
Yeah.
So but that's the thing. It's like, people think wholesale and they've got this thing in their mind, what they expect, and ours is, quite a bit different than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's very few, very few traditional wholesale folks want the manufacturer to say no. I mean, it's more of, they want to be able to set up an account and place their orders and go about their business. But again, for us, it's about working with somebody for a long period of time, and that's what our goal is. And we've just found that it tends to work better when they say no on the front end.
Right, because it ends up being a much shorter term partnership when it's auto approve anyone for us. So it's in our best interest and their best interest, and when those align, that's when you obviously have the magic happen, so to speak.
Right.
Now, is there a difference between working with a manufacturer or, say, a distributor?
Sure. Some manufacturers may only be able to sell their product through distribution. Like, they don't do self-distribution.
Yeah.
Well, some of them don't have distribution in-house. Like, they just don't have a shipping department. So they go exclusively through distribution. But, yeah, it is different. Like, the traditional relationship when you work with a distributor is, there's nothing that's going to differentiate me and you. Only the size of our order. Like, those reps don't care about the brands that they're working with. They just want to sell more products. They want they want everybody to buy more product. That's what their goal is. So we try to not work with distributors unless we've been referred to them by the brand. Like, we always go brand first, because even though it's more convenient to order from a distributor because you can order 50 different lines, you don't get the same type of pricing, and you're not building that partnership that we're actually looking for. So we really do focus on working direct.
Yeah,
That's smart.
Cool. Very helpful.
Good
Do you want to
stuff.
read off some questions, Chelsea?
Yeah. So we have a couple of questions. I'm going to read the questions that have come in so far, and then I also have a list of questions from some of the guys that emailed me. We've been, letting people know about you guys and what you guys are doing, and people are extremely excited. So we got a bunch of questions, people not able to make it, that definitely wanted to get their questions in. So the first one is from Simon. And he says, do I need an LLC to get started before I call the manufacturer? And is there any reference website we can take a look at to inform us, inform us as to what the manufacturers are looking for to see our legitimacy to work with us?
Well, we do suggest that you get an LLC. But the one thing that you definitely need, you have to have a resale certificate.
Right.
And that's if you're from the United States. If you're outside the U.S., you have to have whatever paperwork that shows that you're a legitimate company in your country. But the one thing that you have to have if you're a U.S. citizen is the resale certificate.
And those are issued on the state level.
Right.
Yeah. So we have resale certificates in 14 different states. They would just want to see like one state.
Sure.
Wherever you're physically located.
Yeah, it's just to make sure consumers aren't trying to buy in bulk and save money or anything like this. It's just to make sure it's really just a checkbox kind of thing. That it's not that they're going over it with a fine tooth comb. It's just it's part of the process is all.
Right.
Right. Cool.
It's like it's like the wholesaler's version of a driver's license.
Okay.
Yeah. But and you would recommend getting the LLC and then opening that resale certificate with the LLC.
Yeah. Those. I mean, you can get the CPA to do it for probably a couple $100. You can do it yourself. I'm pretty sure for free. I think ours was set up by me. Obviously years ago.
You did. We have two different LLCs for different businesses. Eric set one of them up, and then I think we paid $200 to have the other one set up by a CPA.
Yeah, it's by state. Every state has their own filing fees. And for those of you watching on Business.bs, we had a live 2 weeks ago with Eric talking about the benefits of an S corp versus LLC, things like that, to know about how you get taxed more if you're a single member LLC, all that good stuff. So you go back and check that out. But yeah, all that stuff can be done on there's different prices depending on the state you're in.
Right.
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay,
All right, so the next question is from Sam, and he says, many of them ask if you have a website, and we do, but it's a general website that is not geared toward a specific product or category. The question is, do you build a website to feature many categories and products?
We actually don't have a retail website at all. We have it's more like a company introduction website. It just tells about our company, what we do, and how we can help brands.
Cool.
So, we're not trying to, again, we used to do that. Like,
right.
We used to have the retail website, but it's more confusing because I'm not trying to sell a lot off that website. Like, my goal was to be the best Amazon seller possible, and I thought that kind of murkied the waters for the vendors we were trying to deal with. So it was more of a play for to be
just general clarity, and
right, just to be more clear with what we were doing.
So the website then would feature you as the product. You guys are your business, and that's what you're talking about.
It's like a personal brand.
Right.
Cool.
You would have to have some kind of a website for credibility and legitimacy to drive them to, because I'm assuming you open contact with these folks via email, like you said, and then they're usually going to say, yeah, let me check out your website.
We link back to it in the email. Yeah, we link back to our website in the email, and it's exactly it's there to show legitimacy. It's there to show that we've at least taken the time to put up a website, and that we're a company. So cool. I would suggest that to anybody as well. Is if you have a brand,
but it doesn't have to be a full-on e-commerce Shopify site or anything of that nature.
But going back to Dan, what you were saying, that the folks listening to this webinar are, I don't know if it's called a webinar, but whatever, the Facebook Live, probably have a leg up because a lot of them know how to build websites.
Sure,
whereas,
absolutely. That's like a big sticking point for a lot of people because it's not if you're not familiar with it, that can be difficult to do. It can be difficult to do. But I imagine 95% of the people watching this have they've experienced it in some capacity.
I'll say 100% of anybody that's ever built a website with templates at all, because we advise a very minimalistic approach, very to the point, and very explain what we do, what we can do, and it's very concise. So anybody that's if you have experience building a website at all, you'd be able to build the type of site that we recommend. And we found it's not just recommendations. It's not just recommendations based on theory. This is over 2.5 years of refinement. And we've had everything from an e-commerce Shopify site to several different sites and different niches and directing people to, if I'm in the kitchen one, here's the kitchen one. And if I'm in the sports, check out the sports site. So we've tried iterations, in and out every direction over the last 2.5 years. And what we found to be the most effective is similar to the email, very concise, very to the point, and let them know exactly our vision and what we're about in a very direct manner.
Great.
Let's keep it simple. Let's keep it super simple. Like, look at a lot of the manufacturer sites. I guarantee you 95% of them have ugly ass sites. So we're not trying to impress them with that. Just say, hey, we help brands and manufacturers convert more sales on the Amazon channel. Bang, that's it. Here's a little bit about us. Here's the email. Boom, that's it. Done. Site's done.
Yep. Nice. Cool. Okay, let's see. So the next question is from Timothy, and he says, so the manufacturers could start to train their own people to do Amazon, since Amazon training courses are all over the internet. Then they can get more profit margin in their pocket. How do you face these questions if asked?
That's a good one.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's think about it from this perspective. First off, for them to start on the Amazon side, they have to hire an employee for that. So it has an upfront cost of, say, $30,000 for a brand to start selling their products on Amazon. Secondly, most brands, and it's different whenever you're looking at it from the private label space, like, because you're thinking about how can I bring this product to market. But if you look at it from the traditional product space, most brands don't want to be retailers. That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to be the best manufacturers possible, and they're trying to market the products more effectively. They're not wanting to retail them. To exemplify this, like, think about it. When is the last time you went to the Clorox store to buy Clorox? You just don't do that. It doesn't happen. You go to a retailer. Like, when's the last time you went to the Coca-Cola store to buy Coke? It just, again, you go to a retailer. So it's the same concept. Like, the brands, whenever we're working with brands, we're not trying to trick them into, working with us on Amazon. Like, we're very, very transparent. Like, we tell them everything we're doing because it's a partnership. Like, our goal isn't just to help them facilitate sales. We want to grow their sales, and that's why they continue to work with us. That's why they continue to work with us, is because we're cheaper than hiring an employee. They get to make money, and we make their products better on that platform, which is a big deal to them. Because, as the world evolves, as the retail world evolves, Amazon continues to become more important. So it's very important that they have experienced sellers, and that's why, like, your private label folks are a commodity. Like, they're awesome right now. Like, people want to work with people who understand how to change products on Amazon.
And there's another thing that I want to address. Like, he answered the question. And I'm not actually going to answer it, because what I'm going to address is the mindset. This person, Timothy, I think it was, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But the similar mindset that we had, and that's that you assume that everybody has the same vision and direction that you do. There's the fallacy under this is that may be an issue for a brand that Amazon is their number one sales channel. But you would be very shocked and surprised to find out how many of these companies that we deal with, it's not. It's just additional revenue stream. So you're just trying to help, improve their bottom line on a secondary or even third or maybe even on further down the list of sales channels. So it's not, that is an issue to be addressed, and you go through take them, handhold them and explain it to them, like Dan said, what we can do and how we're better on, if Amazon is their primary or a large part of their revenue stream. But a vast majority of our manufacturers, that's not even the case. So, they're just happy to have somebody that is raising awareness and bringing more revenue in from a space or a marketplace that they aren't even invested in or overly interested in general.
Hi, bigger.
That really makes sense. I mean, just, us having our own brand, hearing you guys explain the mindset of the manufacturers.
Right.
Like, we don't think like manufacturers. We think like marketers, because that's what we are. We're brand builders and we're marketers. And dealing directly with Chinese suppliers or U.S.-based suppliers too for some of our products, it's the same thing that private labelers ask. Well, how come the manufacturer for your widget in China doesn't just make their own listing on Amazon? Because that's not their model. They don't do that.
Yeah. And when they do it, And when they do it, they're terrible at it. Like if you, I mean, I'm sure you've seen this. I'm sure you've seen these. The Chinese factories try to actually put up listings. They are awful. They're awful at the customer service side. They're awful at their listings are terrible. Like everything is just terrible because that's not their job. That's not what they do. And it's the same concept. Like the brands that we're working with, they didn't wake up in the morning and be like, you know what, I want to be a half-ass retailer today. No, that's not what they did. Like they want to be represented in the best possible fashion, and that's what we're able to provide.
Well said. Cool. Any more questions?
Yeah. So someone asked, what categories do you focus on?
It's actually funny. We Eric told you we whenever we first started, like our business started as a hobby. Like it was just something where we wanted to go out and we liked toys, and that's what we focused on. So we started out in toys and games. But we have sold literally in every category. It's as far as sales or sourcing, I don't think it's easier in any specific category. It's more of, for us, the most success we've had is when we get excited about something. Like when we get excited about something and start learning about it outside of Amazon, like it's so much easier to have those awesome conversations with manufacturers that you'll just convert better there.
And that's what I was going to say is like, but our advisement would be to start in a category or in a range of products that you're comfortable with, because you're going to have that dialogue. It's going to flow naturally when you ring them up and start explaining what you can do and how their product and knowing the market and competition and things like this are obviously going to go a long way to legitimizing you. So our advisement would be to start there. But honestly, like he says, we've sold in anything from automotive and I can barely change oil to baby, which I'm well versed in. So like I mean it's a lot of there's a lot of money to be made, but in every category they're all good, and so we don't discriminate at this point. Anything that we can make money on, we'll take it.
Right. And
this is a question just from me. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say my niche is not hair care, just for the record.
Right.
It was not a focus.
No, I was just going to ask, since you mentioned automotive, so I kind of have an automotive background. I used to be a business consultant for automotive repair shops before we started this business. And we got approved for the automotive category. That's one of the restricted categories. Do you have to, you as a seller, do you have to get approval for those categories, or do you help the brand get approval for those categories and then work with them?
Oh, we as the seller get approved. Like we are the retailer of all the products. Like that's what our focus is. So we have to get approval. But like a lot of that sounds scary, right? For a lot of people, it's like, how do you get approved? It's super easy. And what they require is 3 wholesale invoices, or I think that's for the category approvals. That's it. Just the 3 wholesale invoices. So it's super easy to get, particularly when you're doing wholesale. I mean, it's what it is.
Products all at once and launch them all together in the same category.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. So another question, we sort of answered this. It was, do you have to get a resale certificate? Yes, but then they asked how long does it take to get one?
This is a long time I've done it.
I mean, I think it depends on the state you live in. Like I think
California's like immediate is what I remember. So yeah, it does depend on the state, but it's no longer than like a month or so, right?
Yeah, I can imagine.
I think it's probably 2 weeks on average, probably.
Right, and then Sam asks, who does the optimization of the listing for you guys? Do you have VAs optimizing the listings? And what else do you promise besides optimizing listing and PPC? Lastly, do you get an exclusivity contract with the brand so that you're the only Amazon seller approved to sell their products?
Well, we don't. That's not our goal.
It's going to take a while, so we may have to go back to some of these specific questions, like it's like 4 questions in one, and they all we have good answers for all of them, but we'll forget what order as we go down.
Yeah. So the first thing is our goal is always to work to the exclusivity level, right? But it's just like anything else. We don't call them up and be like, hey, would you like us to be your exclusive vendor on Amazon? That's crazy. It's like, that would be like you asking somebody to marry you on the first date. Nobody's going to really do that. They think you're insane if you do it, so just don't. Our goal is always to work towards exclusivity. All right,
yeah. No. I was going to say, and a little bit to that is like exclusive for us doesn't necessarily mean we're the only seller. A handful of sellers is fine because as a brand, a lot of times they don't want to just sell to one person. They want redundancy, of course, so their product is always available. So if you get a brand that is willing to limit to 2 or 3 sellers, that we call that an exclusive contract as well. And so yeah, that's the goal. But like Zan says, that's something you build over as you begin establishing yourself as an expert, and they understand the working relationship. A couple months, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in is when you can start directing the conversation and dialogue in that direction. So go back to that was, I'm pretty sure that was the last
question, I believe.
The last part of the question.
Do you who does the optimizing? Do you have a VA to optimize the listings?
I can tell you one person that does it. Me. I haven't done it in years. But
yeah, you can absolutely have a VA that does that, or you can. For us, it's a member of our team that we have internally.
Like you said, it's usually not heavy lifting. It's more about the power in it is in the knowledge, not in it. It's not something that takes 3 weeks of work to do. It's just knowing more than the person you're dealing with, and like you said, with these people. You said many of these manufacturers don't know anything about Amazon, and I'd argue that it's closer to all than it is to many. Honestly, almost nobody knows how to do anything. So just knowing how to add a picture on Amazon puts you so far ahead of the person you're talking to that it's not much of a the actual labor involved is probably 20 to 30 minutes. It's not anything.
Point. Just knowing all the ins and outs of Seller Central. That can take a couple of months to get used to. So that's if you've ever sold anything on Amazon and you're talking to a manufacturer who hasn't, that's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. And the last question was, what else do you promise besides optimizing the listing in PPC?
It's actually interesting. That's a great question. What we don't just promise. It's not like we don't have like a buffet of things. It's what we try to do is we try to look at the product. We have checklists, like all of our team members have checklists, and when they're looking at a product, they just say, what are the deficiencies in this product? Like, where is this product deficient? And that's what we talk to them about. We just if they don't need if they don't need better bullet points, our conversation never mentions bullet points. Again, it's about being concise and clear. We tell them what they need and develop a plan for getting those things done.
Cool. One thing I find interesting is even dealing with private labelers, because we do a fair amount of consulting and coaching from stage and different things like this. And even the private labelers who were obsessed with making their brands awesome, a good percentage of those guys don't even know the simplest things like, is it traffic or conversion?
Yeah.
What
my sales are down.
Yeah.
Well, what is it?
And so they just up the PPC, up the sponsored ads budget, and they're like, well, hold on a second. Are you even converting the traffic that you're getting? It's just so that even being able to point out, hey, your conversion rate is really, really low. If we can tweak this and this and this, more people that you're already getting to your listing are going to buy, and you can double your sales without spending more money on ads.
Yeah.
Concept.
Right,
it's
and these are folks that are actively selling on Amazon, like the people
right.
that you're talking to. Imagine a brand. Imagine like a brand hearing this. That's just they don't have a clue.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Any more?
Yeah. Eddie asks, do you brand register all your brands?
We advise them to brand register, because it does have some pretty strategic advantages. But yeah, again, that's what we do is we tell them the path to take, and we can take them to the water, but that doesn't mean they're not always going to drink it, right? It's like taking a horse to water or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as I believe that you should always advise someone to brand register their products. Cool.
Do you have issues getting the buy box when the manufacturer is selling the product?
Well, this is another exciting thing is when we're initially looking for products, it's actually a benefit for us if they are selling, because it tends to show that they've had issues in the past. So it's like we actually look at that as a bonus. But no, that's the thing about the buy box. The buy box is what it is. As long as you're priced competitively, sales are pretty evenly split among all sellers that are priced competitively. So we define competitively as within 2% of 2% of the buy box price, and if you're in that, you're going to get your equitable share of sales. So let's say that there's 100 sales on the listing, and there's 3 existing sellers plus us. We're all we're coming into the party too. So now there's going to be 4. Roughly, within a couple percentage points, every seller is going to sell about 25 units of that product if we're priced the same. That's how the buy box works. But that's why we want to work with these people and brands specifically, is so they can do things like enforce a MAP agreement. So people can't just drive the price to the floor. A MAP agreement, it just means minimum advertised price, and it's an agreement that some manufacturers will have you sign that says you won't sell a product below a certain price, or they refuse to sell to you in the future. So that's, these are all like small consultation points that we get to have with them to help them get their product in the best position on Amazon that it can be.
Wow, that's cool.
That's good.
Yeah, so again, the private label model, we don't deal with buy box because our business model is no one sells on my listing but me, and if you do, I'm sending you a cease and desist letter because I didn't wholesale you anything, so you can't be selling my product.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see the other side of it.
It's actually funny because we use the same strategy with whenever we're an approved seller on a wholesale listing. If another bozo shows up that's not an approved seller, that brand will send him a cease and desist. Like that's they defend it just like you defend your listings.
And it works. I mean, we hardly ever have what we call hijackers on our listing because that cease and desist letter, man, it scares them away because these guys, they don't know what they're doing. And oh my gosh, an attorney is going to come, shoot me in the middle of the night if I sell this product. I better leave.
Yeah. All right, we do have some more questions. So this is someone who is currently selling on Amazon. How do you build the rank up to get to page 1?
Well, we wouldn't deal with anything that's not on page 1. That's the thing. With our model, the demand's already there. Like when the way that we teach people how to source for products, demand is a large factor of whether we're interested. So I can't imagine us ever finding anything that's buried below that. But I mean, you could if you could with cost per click advertising and you could try to increase conversion that way. But that's not really relevant for us in the way that we currently source products.
Right. I mean, the products that we're starting out with are already selling really, really well. Like we don't, that's the one advantage is like, well, you guys are building that brand. Like there's a lot of work that goes into it, but eventually you have it built and it's a really awesome brand, right? We just don't ever have to do that process. We just start with a really good product.
Wow.
So when I posted on Facebook, is anyone interested in finding products that you don't have to source, launch, or rank? I was actually being completely honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No.
That's how it works, but
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's exciting.
Yeah, so there again, it's like it's a lot easier to take a product that's already ranking well and double the sales by increasing their conversion rate.
Yeah.
Which means increase the number of there's 100 people that click on the listing and only 10 of them are buying. Increase that to 20, and you can double your sales overnight without having to spend a dime on PPC or driving traffic or anything like that. That's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that's our exact focus. That's what we try to do is we just take a really good performing product and just try to make it better.
Wow. Awesome.
Right, and this was another question, but I don't think it's relevant anymore. It says, can you ask for giveaway units for free? But I don't think you guys have to do giveaways, is what it sounds like.
Right, but it would fall under the same conversation you'd have about the advertising budget. And we've had that happen before. Like they've given us, like I guess samples. Well, I guess not samples because they're actual products, but like they've given us product for free in exchange for, the paying for the advertising, the cost per click, or I'm not sure if we've ever done.
We've done a launch. We've done several. We've done several launches for brands specifically, and it's. Yeah, I mean they'll definitely give it to you for those types of things, or they can reduce your cost per unit. Alternatively, they could just reduce your cost per unit for the ones you're buying until you've exceeded the cost of the giveaway.
Yeah, cool. Like a real example would be if they're ranking on page 1, but they're not converting well because they have less reviews than some of the other sellers. Yeah, because they suck at getting reviews. So you could do a giveaway with some discounted units and then do a good review follow-up sequence and actually build up their reviews pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, absolutely.
All right, so this is a good question. Go ahead.
I was going to ask real quick, do any of the brands or manufacturers give you any type of terms like net 30, 60?
Yeah, absolutely. That's another really, really good advantage of dealing with particularly a lot of domestic manufacturers, is that's a really common thing is net 30, net 60. We don't always utilize it because you kind of have that built in with your credit cards and stuff. So if they let us pay with credit cards, like we just get our points and our
Do they charge you
cashback stuff.
on top of that? Because, our Chinese supplier will let us use credit cards, but they'll charge us, the points on top of it.
Some do, some don't, and then we make a decision from there whether our cash back that we're getting is and factor that in. But some do, some don't. It's going to be on an individual basis.
But just that, I mean, sourcing domestically with net 30 or net 60 and using a credit card potentially.
The cash flow that you free up on that is insane.
Yeah, because
you can scale this really quickly, and that's why it gets exciting.
Most private labelers, you're not using a credit card. Your lead time is 30 to 45 days before that product
Then you
arrives.
put it on a ship, and even if you have a net 30, you're paying right when it gets off the boat.
Yeah. So you guys can start making money before you even start paying on that inventory.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. All right, this is a good question. What is the difference in profitability between this and private label? So what kind of a profitability can you expect?
Margin.
Yeah.
We target products with a 30% ROI.
Okay.
So I mean, tends to be more in the 15 to 18% profit margin is about where we function. But think of it from this perspective. I know, when you're talking about private label margins, they sound really big, but we're not covering the cost of giveaways. We're not covering the cost of PPC. There's just no other. That's our actual what we bring out of it, as opposed to investing all these other costs to build the brand and things like that. So I imagine once you factor your guys' costs in, that it's probably really similar to you.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And just the speed of cash flow is very, very intriguing. Because you can make a higher profit margin over a long period. One of my favorite sayings is, you don't spend profit margins, you spend profit dollars. So it's great to have big margins, but really I want money in my pocket. A margin that takes a year and a half to get that ROI is not as attractive as something that turns in a month, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm definitely stealing that saying for what it's worth.
Please.
Yeah.
That's a great saying.
That was good.
There's a lot in coaching because it's like, come on, guys, stop. Yeah, think about the money that you're putting in your pocket.
Yeah. All right. This is the last question that I have. Does this course cater to, basically, does Wholesale cater to international sellers as well? If the big brands are in the U.S., are they willing to partner with someone outside the U.S.? And what are the potential difficulties of doing that?
I mean, absolutely. It can actually be a really big advantage, I think, to be international, because if this is something you can do, if you can introduce that product into your market as well, anybody will want to work with you, because that's the thing is they all want to increase their footprint. They all want to be able to say, my product's sold in this number of countries.
And for clarity, he's saying .uk, .de, .fr. Any .Australia, whatever that one is, but if you're able to put it on that, right, is what you're saying simultaneously, you'll get a lot more. We'll put you on .com, because you're able to put them on .uk as well, or something like that. So brand exposure, brand growth is an opportunity that's something that I can't offer. No
right. I mean, you have an advantage over us at that point. But beyond that, it's here's the thing. It's not about. It's not trying to. You mentioned difficulties. The difficulties are most of the time related to you not being clear about how you can help the brand. To be honest with you, it's people want to work with people who can help them. That's just how it is. If I tell you, hey man, I can help you accomplish these things, and they're goals for your business, you're going to want to work with me. Right. And they're not incurring cost to work with you, so it's not. Again, it's not. A lot of this isn't some sort of a hard sell so much as you just have to explain exactly how you can help people. And international folks can do that just as well as domestic folks. You don't have to be a domestic person to be able to change an Amazon listing. You don't have to be a domestic person to run PPC. So, yeah, absolutely, you can run this business.
How many international people do you think use the word folks?
Probably very few. Probably very few.
Very few national people do as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good stuff.
All the questions that I have.
Well, I mean, I know that you guys should probably have a link, right, or something for the workshop.
Yeah, we're going to get into that right now.
Okay.
I think we had one more question come in.
Okay.
Chelsea, and then we'll get into how we can get involved with these guys.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so the last question that we had coming through was from Sam. What do you do when the brand points you to their distributor?
Well, we try, if they don't have distribution, we'll go through the distributor, but all of our communication will be with the brand outside of ordering. So it's, we'll handle our ordering process through the distributor, but we'll talk to them about the plan with Amazon, what we're doing. Realistically, as long as it doesn't matter where the product is coming from, as long as you're communicating with the brand or your partner. So that's our focus there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Guys, for those of you watching, Wholesale Formula put together a 5-day online challenge or workshop, right? So for the marketers watching, you love those 5-day challenges. It's something to get involved with. So guys, can you just break down what's involved in the workshop, how it works, what we learn, and just give us a little bit more details to it, and we'll drop some links here below.
Absolutely. It's well, first off, you should immediately join this workshop today. It's completely free. And our goal with this workshop is to have you to understand and be able to do this business model by the end of the 5-day workshop. So there's a ton of information. It's going to go over, how to find products, how to contact manufacturers, how you can help manufacturers succeed in the Amazon marketplace. So
it's really a lot of the information we went over today, but delivered in a better format than just Dan and I just spouting it off the top. You know what I mean? Like it's more, it's made to be consumed and learned. So you'll be able to take it and really understand the process behind it. Because I know that sometimes we like to shortcut it. What we know, you assume other people know. So this is going to be you're going to be able to step back a little bit and see the whole picture and see exactly, the steps that we take from, being interested in the product to acquiring the product and selling the product.
Right. I mean, that's our whole goal, is to be able to, we want people to understand if this business model is right for them by the end of that 5 days.
Yeah, and by Friday, if you're still on the fence, you're not convinced, it's not for you. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, like, it's just not, and it's fine, but it's people, the opportunity is amazing, and it does, the selling on Amazon is a great opportunity, whether it's private label or wholesale, and we have been really successful with wholesale, and we're very proud of that, and we're very excited to let people know about the opportunity. So, like to restate it, if by Friday you're not like excited and really want to get into stuff like that, then it's not for you.
But at the end of the day, I mean, that's the thing, is this workshop is entirely free, so you can get in, jump in right now and see if it is. So do that. Awesome. Go through their link, check it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like you guys watching, there's not really too many places you get the opportunity to see. Especially, I'm assuming you have a course at the back end, which is probably not a secret, right? So there's really not too many places where you can go in and see, all right, hey, is this business model right for me? Is this something I want to do? Go through it for 5 days, right? Literally step by step. Here are all the steps involved in the process. Now, is this something I can commit to? If so, then these guys are the ones that will help you get to where you want to be. If it's not for you, not a problem, right? But at least you learn another model out there that in the future, if it's something that happens to be something you want to do, you know who's out there that can help you with it. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add to that. Chelsea,
I'll guarantee I'll add something to it, and I'll tell you that you should go through it because you'll learn something about selling on Amazon in general that you can whether you're private label, retail arbitrage, online arbitrage. I promise you, you'll learn from this workshop how you can apply it. There'll be things and techniques that you'll see that you may have never thought of, and that you can apply and probably for any e-commerce marketplace, really. So I advise anybody just to go through it. The information's free and it's loaded, but it is limited time. So you've got it's Friday, and then so you need to get in there and it's interactive too. So that's
we also have people like our team will be answering questions in the Facebook group that's a part of that workshop all week long. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's like you think about it from this perspective. You get to jump on, you get to watch the video that breaks down this model, and it's like that. It's going to break down sourcing and scouting. Even if you're private label, I've already talked to you about this. Like it's our scouting method for finding products is very similar to yours, and I'm sure there are things that you guys can borrow from ours and just become better private labelers. Like if that's your goal. But throughout this workshop, I mean, you guys first off, you get to see exactly what we do, then. You get to interact with our team. Like answer any question. I mean, that's the thing. Just get on there and ask questions and figure it out. It's really We love these workshops because there's so much interaction. Like you get to see people like the light bulb come on, and they're like, "Whoa, this is like, this works, and it's awesome."
The enthusiasm is great. It's refreshing for us. Sometimes getting caught up in day-to-day stuff. So see the refreshing. It's nice to refocus on what a great opportunity we have and how how things have progressed for us. So it works for us
both ways.
Yeah,
for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for putting it on.
And that Facebook group, you guys have a giveaway going on in there as well, right?
Yeah, that's another reason. If you guys, if for nothing else, join it because there's a contest going on. We're giving away 3 $500 Amazon gift cards.
So, and all that information's in the Facebook group, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, if nothing else, jump on there and do that. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like beyond the giveaway, there's so much stuff like you can just learn and apply. It'll be a great time.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
That's awesome.
Cool. So where do they go?
There's a link in I believe it's in the comments. There's a link in the comments of this video, and also if you when I posted, I put a link as well. So either way, you can find the link.
There's links everywhere.
Yeah, there's one on here. It's businessnotbs.com/wholesale, and then there was another one on the post that I posted. But either way, it's a pinned comment in here as well.
Cool.
Great. Yeah.
All right, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being on here. Thanks for sharing all this knowledge with our audiences. And awesome, guys. If you have any questions, you need to get in touch with these guys. Sign up for the 5-day workshop. They'll invite you to that private group, speak to their team, learn how to get shit done, and sell some stuff on Amazon.
Yeah, and if you want to connect up with, we're at badassbusinessbuilders.org. So for anyone
we'll drop the link on that too. We'll drop the link to sign up for their coaching and training for Chelsea and Ari as well.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for being here. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for having us.